Hello everyone and welcome to today's chat. So I have a question for us today regarding love and submission. And the question is, are we all getting it wrong? I'm sure you're wondering why I'm asking this question. It's because marriage today feels like a battlefield. There's a lot of divorce, broken homes, couples constantly at odds. And at the center of all this is one of the biggest struggles in relationships, including Christian relationships. And that is, should a woman submit no matter what? Or should a man love first before submission happens? Are both meant to wait for each other to make the first move? So it's like a cycle. Men refuse to love because their wives won't submit. Women refuse to submit because their husbands don't love. But is this how God designed this institution? Let's go back to the Bible. What is God's blueprint for marriage? The Bible makes it 100% clear. Both love and submission are commanded, independent of what the other person does. Ephesians 5:22-25 tells us God's command. Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for her. Please, husbands are commanded to love like Christ, sacrificially, unconditionally. Wives are also commanded to submit as unto the Lord, not based on how loving the husband is. It is not conditional. God does not say, wives, submit only if he is loving, or husbands, love only if she submits first. So, to the women, what does biblical submission look like? Let me clear this first. Submission is not being a doormat. No. Submission is not obeying sinful or abusive commands. No. Submission is not losing your identity or voice. No. So for the feminism gang, just relax. What is submission? Submission is respecting your husband's leadership. Colossians 3:18 says, wives should submit as it is fit in the Lord. Submission is supporting, not competing with your husband. Proverbs 31:11-12 says, the heart of her husband safely trusts in her. She will do her husband good and not evil. Submission is honoring your husband even when you disagree. 1 Peter 3:1-2 says, let the men rule. Let them be won over by your holy behavior. Let's look at a biblical example. Sarah in 1 Peter 3:6. Sarah was obedient. She was submissive. She called Abraham Lord, not out of weakness, but out of honor. And if you read everything about Sarah, she still had her voice, but she chose respect. And because of that, she was blessed. So what is the issue that women have? Many women today will say, oh, I can't submit to a man who does not show me that he loves me. Now, bear in mind, this show of love is defined by funny expectations that they've set, either from social media influence, from friends, or even strictly by their own love language, without understanding that we are raised differently and we may not speak the same love language. But guess what? These same women will submit, they will respect, they would obey their pastors, even when they have never personally received prayers or any miracle from these pastors, or they've never even confirmed that this person is indeed their apostle. They will kneel before a pastor, they will call him daddy, obey any instruction he gives without question. But guess what? They argue, they challenge their husband on everything. Their husband will talk one, they talk 20. Why is this happening? Why is submission to a pastor easier for us than submission to our husbands? 1 Corinthians 11:3 says, but I will have you know that the head of every man is Christ. The head of every woman is the man. And the head of Christ is God. The order is clear. Your husband is your spiritual head. Guess what? Even before your pastor. I'm not saying don't honor or respect your pastors. No, that's not what we're saying here. But you have to recognize your husband as your spiritual head before the pastor. So if you can trust a pastor that you barely know, why not trust and honor that man that you chose yourself and you vowed to spend the rest of your life with? Ponder on that. Now to my beloved brothers, what does godly love look like? Love is not controlling or manipulating. No. Love is not loving only when you get submission. No. Love is not using the authority you have over a woman as a weapon. No. Love is leading the woman with kindness, not dominance, not bitterness. Let's read Colossians 3:19. Love is protecting, providing for and prioritizing your woman. 1 Timothy 5:8 says you are worse than an infidel if you cannot provide for your own. Love is serving just like Jesus did. Look at Mark 10:45. Look at the example of Jesus and the church. Ephesians 5:25-27 says, you should love your women as Christ loved the church and gave himself for the church. Jesus loved us way before we submitted. Jesus sacrificed for us even when we were still sinners. That is the kind of love that God expects from husband. But here is the issue with the men. Many men want their wives to submit, but they don't even make this submission easy for the women. They don't pray for or pray with their wives. Some people will say women should pray on their own, or that their own is just to say amen. Oh, woman, don't worry, pray for two. Why? Some of you men, you don't provide spiritual direction at home, and you're meant to be her spiritual head before the pastor. If you don't provide it, you'll have to go get it from the pastor. Some men expect honor, but they don't show love. So let us note this. A woman is called to submit, but she is not called to submit to chaos. So how then do we break this cycle? So please, how? How do we stop waiting for the other person to act first? I'll say the first thing is obey God. Regardless of what your spouse does, please obey God. Men, love your wives when she's difficult, when she's sweet. You chose her from the billions of women that are in the world. Women, submit to your husbands even when they are not perfect. You yourself, are you perfect? Don't you have flaws? And stop nagging and just cooperate. Then also pray for each other instead of fighting each other. Make sure that you have a prayer altar in your home. It is important. Romans 12:21 says, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Someone has to break that cycle. And please let that person be you. Yes, you break that cycle today. So tell us, what are you going to do differently? And please know, this is not about anybody winning an argument. No. It is just about building marriages that reflect Christ. It does not mean anybody is stupid. No. So I'll wrap up by asking us these two questions, because I would also love to learn. My fellow sisters, what does submission look like to you? My brothers, what does true love look like to you? I would love to read your thoughts in the comment section so that we can all learn. And if this video blessed you, please you can like, share, or join me on any of my social media platforms for more godly insights. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.